Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're getting into something truly fascinating today, a profound paradox about human transformation, success, and the literally hidden mechanical workings of your own mind. We're breaking down the groundbreaking concepts from a classic piece of literature that completely turned our understanding of personality upside down. So get ready, because we're about to pop the hood on human consciousness.
Let's just jump right in with a question that honestly seems completely counterintuitive. Why does a new face rarely create a new person? I mean, you'd think that if someone has a physical feature they're deeply insecure about, surgically fixing it would instantly cure all those feelings of inadequacy, right? But the astonishing reality is, it usually doesn't. You can totally fix the outside, but the inside, the person's shyness, their behavior, all that deep-seated self-doubt, often stays exactly the same. The guy who actually stumbled onto this baffling phenomenon was Dr. Maxwel Maltz. He's the author of the incredible book we're exploring today, Cybernetics. Now, Dr. Maltz wasn't your typical psychologist or psychiatrist. He was actually a highly successful plastic surgeon. He spent his days in the OR, physically altering people's appearances. But it was his incredibly meticulous observations of his patients after their surgeries that led to the revolutionary psychological breakthrough we're talking about today.
The plastic surgeon's mystery. Maltz's time in the clinic really set the stage for this massive mystery. He started noticing that physical changes produced wildly different psychological outcomes. The scalpel just wasn't the magic wand he'd assumed it was. Look at the sheer contrast between two of his specific patients. On one hand, you've got the salesman. This guy had a terrible facial scar from a car accident. He became super bitter, completely lost his confidence, and his sales just tanked. Maltz removes the scar, and bam! Almost overnight, the guy regains his supreme confidence and is right back to being highly successful. But then you have the Duchess. She'd been terribly shy her whole life because of a large hump in her nose. Maltz does the surgery, gives her a classic, beautiful nose. Her own family barely recognized her, and yet she continued acting exactly like the shy, ugly duckling. She even tried to tell Dr. Maltz that her nose looked exactly the same. The physical defect was totally gone, but the psychological defect perfectly intact.
So the huge takeaway here is that physical features absolutely do not dictate your confidence. Maltz recalled seeing these proud German university students who wore hideous saber scars on their cheeks like literal badges of honor. To them, a scar meant elite status. On the flip side, he noted a survey showing that 90% of perfectly normal, healthy college co-eds were completely dissatisfied with how they looked. He called this debilitating phenomenon imaginary ugliness. It proves that sometimes the absolute harshest critic isn't the mirror, it's the mind looking into it. These students suffer the exact same fear and anxiety as someone with a genuine, severe disfigurement. The problem clearly wasn't physical.
Which brings us to Section 2, Discovering the Self-Image.
So if the physical face isn't determining a person's personality, what on earth is? Well, Maltz concluded that personality itself has an invisible face. This invisible face is what he famously called the self-image, literally the mental blueprint of our personality. And it's built entirely from our past experiences, our wins, our failures, how other people have reacted to us over the years. And here is exactly why this matters so much. Your self-image dictates the absolute boundaries of your accomplishments, period. All your actions, your feelings, your behaviors, they will always stay consistent with this internal image. If you try to use sheer willpower or just positive thinking to hit a goal that contradicts your self-image, you are going to fail. You simply cannot outperform your own mental blueprint.
To really see this in action, check out the case of Prescott Lecky's student. Prescott Lecky was a pioneer in self-image psychology, and he was working with this schoolboy who was a chronically terrible speller, like spelling 55 out of 100 words wrong, totally failing. Why? Because the kid's self-image was just simply, I am a poor speller. Lecky didn't give him extra tutoring or anything like that. Instead, he worked to change the boy's self-definition. He showed him that being a poor speller was totally inconsistent with his otherwise really high intelligence. Once the boy actually changed his self-image, his spelling radically improved. Literally the next year, he made a 91 average and became one of the best spellers in the entire school. It's wild.
Moving into Section 3, The Science of Cybernetics.
Okay, so Dr. Maltz knew this self-image existed, right? But he really needed to figure out how it actually operated inside the brain. To do that, he had to look completely outside of psychology and dive into mid-century technological science. And he found his answer in something called cybernetics. It comes from a Greek word meaning the steersman, and cybernetics is essentially the study of goal-seeking behavior in mechanical systems. Maltz realized that the human brain and nervous system operate as a marvelous, entirely automatic, goal-seeking servo mechanism.
Now, to be crystal clear here, Maltz wasn't saying that man is a machine. He's saying that man has a machine, and your conscious mind is the steersman operating it.
To wrap your head around this, let's look at the two general types of servo mechanisms. Type 1 operates when the target is known. Think of it like a self-guided torpedo. You fire it, it zigzags toward an enemy ship, and it constantly uses negative feedback to auto-correct its course until it hits the target. Then you have Type 2, which operates when the target is unknown. This is like when your brain is frantically scanning for a forgotten name at a dinner party. The target is out there somewhere, and your brain scanner just searches and searches through its memory banks until the right answer suddenly clicks into place. And the crazy thing is, your built-in machinery does both of these things every single day.
Let's look at Section 4, your built-in success mechanism.
You are the operator of this incredible internal machine. By your very nature, you are engineered as a goal-striving being. Let's just pause and look at the sheer, raw power you have at your disposal. Check out this staggering number, 10 billion. According to British neurophysicist W.H. Gray Walter, if you wanted to build a mechanical facsimile of the human brain, it would take at least 10 billion electronic cells, 1.5 million cubic feet of space, and 1 billion watts of power. You are carrying a supercomputer infinitely more complex than any guided missile system right there inside your skull. And its primary function? To act as your built-in success mechanism.
So how does this supercomputer actually work? Think about an outfielder in baseball. They're automatically computing wind, speed, and trajectory in a split second just to catch a fly ball. Your success mechanism needs 4 basic things to do its job. First, it absolutely must have a clear goal or target, which is provided by your imagination. Second, it uses feedback data, basically your mistakes, to continually correct its course. Third, once it actually hits the target, it remembers that past success and forgets the failures, which is how we form successful habits. And fourth, it operates automatically. Think about it. You don't consciously tell your individual arm muscles how to pick up a coffee cup, right? You just desire the cup, and your servo mechanism does all the heavy lifting.
Section 5. Power of synthetic experience.
Now we arrive at the ultimate dilemma. If your success mechanism completely relies on remembering past successes to build confidence, what do you do if your entire past is filled with nothing but failure and humiliation? How do you feed successful data into the machine if you don't have any? Well, the answer lies in a massive psychological breakthrough. The human nervous system cannot tell the difference between an actual experience and an experience imagined vividly and in detail. Let that sink in. This is the absolute core of psycho-cybernetics. You can literally manufacture synthetic experience right there in the laboratory of your mind. If you vividly imagine a successful scenario, your nervous system records it as a real, lived success. It becomes stored data that your success mechanism can actually draw upon. History gives us a really perfect example of this mental laboratory at work. Take Louis Agassiz. He was a naturalist trying to decipher this super obscure impression of a fossilized fish in a stone slab. He was completely, hopelessly stuck. But for 3 nights, he literally dreamed of the fish with all its missing features perfectly restored. His brain scanner had actually found the unknown answer. So on the 3rd night, he woke up, sketched out exactly what he saw in his vivid dream, and used that mental image as a literal guide to successfully chisel the fossil out of the stone. He used synthetic experience to create actual, real-world success. Let's move to Section 6, a 21-day mental challenge.
So, how do we actually apply all this to our own lives? It's time for a 21-day mental challenge based directly on Dr. Maltz's theories. Now, why 21? This number is incredibly significant. Dr. Maltz observed that it takes about 21 days for an amputee's phantom limb sensation to fade. It takes about 21 days for a plastic surgery patient to finally get used to their newly reconstructed face. It takes about 21 days to make a new house actually feel like a home. Basically, it takes a minimum of 21 days for an old mental image to dissolve and a new one to fully gel.
So follow these 3 steps to rewrite your own self-image. First, set a clear goal image of exactly who you want to be. Second, use your creative imagination to vividly experience it. Spend time every single day seeing, feeling, and acting out this new role in your mind. Make it as real as possible. And third, and I know this is the absolute hardest part, you have to reserve all critical judgment for 21 days. Just suspend your disbelief entirely. Don't argue with it intellectually. Even if it feels super hypocritical or completely unnatural at first, you just must keep feeding your servo mechanism this new synthetic experience of success.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a deeply empowering thought from Ralph Waldo Emerson.
There are no great and no small. Dr. Maltz used this exact quote to remind us that every single human being has been engineered for success. You are the operator of the most sophisticated, goal-seeking machine in the known universe. By understanding your self-image and by learning to intentionally steer your own cybernetic mechanism, you can truly change the boundaries of what is possible in your life. So what new target are you going to give your success mechanism today?